Know Your Candidate. Presented by Portland is Possible, broadcasted by XRAY FM. In this segment, we offer a brief background on the visionary candidates that are proudly standing and running for the acclaimed Portland Area City Council. For now, we have a candidate of District 2 that incorporates St. John's, Kenton, Hayden Island, Mississippi, and Alberta neighborhoods.
Hi, my name is Nat West. I'm running for City Council in District 2, North and Northeast Portland. Most people know me as the owner of Reverend Nat's Hard Cider for the last 12 years, and I've been a TriMet bus driver for the last 8 months.
How can we make it easier for Portlanders to get to the central city by bike and transit?
So I rode my bike here today. I ride my bike most days. I actually got hit on my bike a couple of weeks ago. Driver turned right into me, even though I was in a bike lane. It wasn't a protected bike lane, it was just paint on the ground. So one thing that I'd like to do is have more protected bike lanes, whether it's wands or concrete, to keep cyclists safe. I'd also like to have a greater interplay between Portland Bureau of Transportation and TriMet. As a former TriMet bus driver, I'll be the first public transit operator on City Council. I think there's a lot of work that we can do to integrate to better the relationship between PBOT and TriMet for better service, better routes, and more comfortable traveling.
What should be the future of RAC and the city funding for the arts?
There's no safer environment than a concert getting out at 2:30 a.m. No amount of policing can create a neighborhood that's as safe as that at that time of night. So I think you can look at the arts as economic drivers as well. A dollar spent on the arts always brings in far more than a dollar in local revenues. So you can just paint, you don't even have to paint a cultural picture for why the arts are important. Portland is a really arts heavy city. We have a pretty thriving film community, and of course we all know the other arts that happen here as well. So I'd look to invest further in venues. I also think that a lot of times the arts operate as businesses, and it's very difficult to navigate Bureau of Development Services and permitting to make sure that their facilities can be built fast and cost affordably. They suffer from the same problems that housing developers do about how difficult it is to get things built in Portland.
How do we better connect our communities to the river?
Just last week, I had a meeting with the Human Access Project, and that's a group that's done a huge amount of work to open up beaches along the Willamette River in Portland. They had a big opening of a new beach and dock in St. John's at Cathedral Park recently. That was a great opportunity to get in the river for a lot of people who live in that otherwise kind of ignored area of St. John's. So it's great to see private groups, organizations doing this work. I think there's also a lot of work to be done on the waterfront downtown. Obviously, taking out Harbor Drive many decades ago was a critical step in our advancement of our city. But while Waterfront Park is not the most welcoming place outside of events that happen. So I'd look to add more retail opportunities, including restaurants or pop-ups right along the waterfront, as well as look at what it would look like to tear down the wall, the big wall that separates the river from downtown, so that we can actually be a little closer to the water rather than 30 feet up it all the time.
The central city has become unaffordable for most Portlanders to live and less attractive to work in or visit. Is that a problem? What's your vision for the future of the central city?
Just last night, I rode my bike through Slabtown. It was a Friday night, and it was popping. There's so many new housing developments there that all have good food and beverage options. Restaurants either embedded in them or right next to them. And I think that when you look at the vibrancy of places in the West Side, like Slabtown, that have had that success, is because they don't just have a bunch of offices built there. They have a lot of really dense housing. So I'd look for that for the rest of the city to really focus on creating more market rate housing. Affordable housing is great also, but it's easier, I think, easier and faster to produce more housing that is market rate, and that'll just lower rents for everyone across the board. Austin, Texas recently over the last 10 years did a really big housing binge of building lots of housing, most of it market rate, and we're actually seeing rents decline in Austin recently. So that's something that I think we should be doing in Portland.
The central city is a large area of land connected by a river that includes communities, businesses, and transit needs. How should the city council consider these diverse stakeholders in policymaking?
I think as we're looking at how to rebuild this area, we should look to organizations that are already doing some work and how we can support those and get barriers out of the way. And one group that I've been really proud of supporting for a few years now is Albina Vision Trust. I made a cider for them in 2022, and I donated 100% of the profits to that group. And it was a few $1,000s, and they're working in the tens and hundreds of millions. So not a big impact, but it was really great to support those folks. The project that's really on their minds and on the minds of a lot of Portlanders right now is the caps over I-5 to create new land. We don't make land anymore, so I see that as an opportunity to not widen the freeway, but support the caps, and then what are we going to build on top of them? I could see that as an opportunity to reverse some of the gentrification that's happened in that area, make sure that the right people are benefiting from that creation of land that was originally stolen from them.
Lightning round. If you had $5 million, what is one thing you would buy for Portland?
Rather than spending $5 million on a one-time expense, it would be fun to have a big party, I would rather invest it in land and then put that land into community land trust to help affordable homeownership.
What place in town that more people should know about?
I think downtown more people should come back and visit. I had a friend in town this week from New York, and he'd never been to Portland, but he'd heard all those stories, and he thought downtown was wonderful and a great place to be, and it was not anything like what's being said about in the media.
If you could wave a magic wand to make one thing happen in Portland, what would you do?
I would immediately end homelessness by creating a wide range of shelter types and wraparound services to go with each one.
Should the President Teddy Roosevelt statue come down?
I actually think it's slated to return. If I've got that wrong, I apologize. I think it's important to tell the story of old dead white men, but tell the entire story. I think Portland can serve as an example of how to treat problematic people from the past, not just by putting the statue up and glorifying it, but by putting the statue up and including the full story of Teddy Roosevelt's time.
What events or place in Portland that no longer exists do you wish you could bring back?
If there was one place I could bring back, it would probably be Reverend Nat's Hard Cider. I am glad that I closed it, but it would be great to have it all live on in perpetuity. I guess the mistake was naming it Reverend Nat's because I didn't want it to live on without me doing the work, but in some fantasy world, it would be fun to both be a city councilor and have Reverend Nat still exist.
So now you know your candidate, or a bit about them. We like to thank the visionary candidates, also like to especially thank all the volunteers and organizations that put this together. We couldn't do this without you. To look at each candidate, be a good Portland citizen, and to be a dashing and informed voter, listen to X-Ray FM to learn about ballots and the new ranked choice voting system. And check out portlandpossible.org.